I kept my expression locked down as I rotated my pen exactly 180 degrees and slid the folder across Howard's mahogany desk. He picked it up with those soft executive hands that had never held anything heavier than a golf club, flipped it open, and I watched his face go white as he processed the first page. "What the hell is this?" he asked, voice cracking like he was 16 again. "My resignation," I said, rotating my pen a full 360 degrees. "The rest is self-explanatory." He flipped to page 2 with shaking fingers, then 3. His jaw muscles tightened, the only sign he had any fight left in him. When he looked up at me, I saw something I'd never seen in 15 years of working for Howard Caldwell. Pure, undiluted fear. "Warren, you can't do this. These clients, they're under contract. Check the termination clauses," I said. "All standard terms, all legal." I picked up my tactical briefcase, straightened my shoulders, and walked out of his office without another word. That was Tuesday morning, March 15th. By Friday, Caldwell Strategic Partners would understand exactly what happens when you discard a Marine Corps logistics officer who spent 15 years building your crisis management division from nothing. My name is Warren Pierce, and I'm 49 years old. Let me take you back to how this whole operation started. I joined Caldwell Strategic Partners straight out of the Marines in 2009. I was 34, had communications experience managing crisis situations in logistics operations, a security clearance that opened doors, and enough discipline to run point on the kind of regulatory nightmare cases that made other PR guys call in sick. Howard was building the firm then, talked a good game about merit-based advancement and rewarding the operators who delivered results under fire. He'd pace around the conference room during orientation, gesturing with his coffee cup like it was a pointer. "This firm succeeds because we put the right people in the right positions." He'd say, "Politics don't matter here, results matter, performance matters." The Marine Corps teaches you that, right, Warren? I believed him. For 15 years, I believed every briefing he gave about how the firm valued battlefield leadership. My first assignment was pharmaceutical crisis management. While my colleagues chased the glamorous consumer accounts with their launch parties and gift baskets, I dove into FDA compliance issues, congressional hearings, and product recalls that could sink a company overnight. This was the kind of work that required precision. One misplaced word in a regulatory filing could trigger federal investigations. Most people couldn't handle the pressure. I thrived on it. I spent my nights studying FDA guidance documents like they were tactical manuals. I built relationships with regulatory reporters who covered drug safety issues and congressional staffers who handled healthcare oversight. Within 18 months, I became the go-to operator when a pharmaceutical client faced congressional subpoenas, product liability lawsuits, or FDA enforcement actions. Howard noticed, "You've got natural tactical instincts," he told me during my first performance review. "Exactly the kind of leader this firm needs to secure its position in the regulatory space." When I was 37, I brought in my first major account, Biogenesis Technologies, a biotech company facing a crisis that threatened their entire product pipeline. Their lead drug had shown unexpected side effects in late-stage trials, triggering an FDA investigation and congressional inquiry. Stock price dropped 40% in 3 days. I ran the defensive operation personally for 8 weeks, coordinated with their legal team, managed congressional relations, prepared executives for testimony, and contained the damage. We held the line, the crisis passed, their stock recovered, the contract signed was worth $800,000 annually. "Outstanding work," Warren Howard said when the dust settled. "You saved their company." That's the kind of operational excellence that builds reputations. That account grew. Then I brought in another, then another. By the time I was 45, I was running operations that generated nearly 40% of the firm's crisis management revenue. I had built a team of 12 specialists who trusted my judgment and followed my lead. I had a track record that any executive would be proud to brief to the board. I was also passed over for promotion 4 times. The first time, Howard called me into his office on a Wednesday afternoon. The leather chair across from his desk felt like a witness stand. "Warren, I need you to understand the timing isn't optimal for that VP promotion," he said, not quite meeting my eyes. "The firm is restructuring. I need you focused on client operations, not internal transitions." I accepted the mission and drove on. The second time, the role went to someone with an MBA from Wharton, who had been at the firm for 3 years. Austin Hayes was 32, sharp, presentable, good with PowerPoint decks and client dinners. He had never managed a federal regulatory crisis and had 0 experience with congressional relations. "Austin has innovative thinking," Howard explained. "Fresh strategic vision. The kind of forward-looking leadership we need as we expand our digital capabilities." Austin stopped by my office that afternoon, wearing a smile that probably got him through business school. "Hey Warren, I hope there are no hard feelings about the promotion," he said. "I'm really looking forward to learning from your experience." "Congratulations," I said, rotating my pen 180 degrees. "You'll do fine," I congratulated Austin and went back to work. The third time, they created the position specifically for someone from outside the firm, a consultant from McKinsey who specialized in organizational transformation. "We need new perspectives," Howard explained. "Digital transformation expertise, someone who can help us navigate the changing landscape." The consultant lasted 8 months before returning to McKinsey. My clients barely noticed the transition. The fourth time was different. Howard called me into his office on a Thursday morning in February. The winter light coming through his window was sharp and cold, matching the tactical assessment I was running in my head. "Warren, I want to walk you through something," he said, leaning back in that oversized executive chair. "We're creating a chief operating officer position. Board-level role, equity participation, the kind of position that sets someone up for succession planning." He spent the next hour outlining what the COO role would involve: strategic oversight of all operational divisions, board reporting responsibilities, equity stake in the firm's growth, partnership track. "How would you approach restructuring the crisis management division for growth?" he asked. I gave him a complete operational plan: expansion into 2 new markets, specialization tracks for different types of crises, team structure that could scale to support 20% annual growth, integration with the firm's other practice areas. He nodded at every point, took notes, asked follow-up questions. "Warren, you're exactly what this firm needs for the next phase," he said finally. "Your operational expertise, your client relationships, your leadership style. It's what we need to build on." I left that meeting confident enough to turn down a recruiter call from a competing firm the next week. When Janet Morrison from Pearson Associates called about a senior director position, I told her I wasn't available. "Are you sure?" she asked. "The compensation package is significant, equity participation from day one." "I'm sure," I said. "I've got good things happening where I am." 2 months later, Howard called another meeting. Same office, same winter light, but Austin Hayes was sitting beside his desk wearing the kind of smile that gets practiced in mirrors. "Warren, I want to tell you directly," Howard said, not meeting my eyes this time. "I've decided to move Austin into the COO position. I think he brings the kind of forward-thinking leadership we need as we expand our digital capabilities." I looked at Austin. The kid was 34 now, had been with the firm for 4 years, most of that time learning from my operational templates. He gave me that rehearsed smile again, the one that probably worked great in client meetings. "I hope you understand this isn't about your performance," Howard continued. "Your work is exceptional. This is about positioning the firm for the future. Austin has the kind of strategic vision that resonates with our board." "What kind of strategic vision?" I asked, rotating my pen 180 degrees. Howard shifted in his chair. "Digital transformation, modern client engagement strategies, the kind of innovative thinking that appeals to younger executives." I turned to Austin. "What's your experience with congressional hearings?" "Well, I haven't directly managed any yet," Austin said, that smile flickering slightly. "But I've observed several of your briefings. I think there's real opportunity to modernize our approach. Modernize how? Social media integration, real-time sentiment analysis, digital crisis response protocols." He was warming up now, getting into presentation mode. "The traditional approach works, but we need to think about multi-platform engagement strategies." I rotated my pen a full 360 degrees. "Have you ever prepared a client for FDA testimony?" "Not specifically, but the principles are transferable. It's about message discipline and audience analysis, right?" Howard jumped in. "Austin will obviously be learning from your expertise, Warren. We're not replacing your operational knowledge, we're building on it with fresh perspectives." "Copy that," I said. And for the first time in 15 years, I meant it exactly the way it sounded. Not Howard's version of understanding, which was corporate doublespeak designed to make me feel better about being passed over again, but tactical clarity. I understood that Howard Caldwell promoted based on comfort level, not operational effectiveness. He promoted people who made him feel secure about his own position, not people who could actually run successful operations under pressure. Austin made Howard feel smart. I made Howard feel replaceable. "I need you to understand," Howard said, "this decision positions the firm for long-term growth. Your division is crucial to our success. Nothing changes operationally." "Everything changes operationally," I said, standing up, "but I understand the strategic direction." I left his office that day with something unexpected. Not anger, clarity. I drove home that evening and sat at my kitchen table for 2 hours, running a complete tactical assessment. I listed everything in my operational inventory on a single piece of paper. Client relationships built over 15 years of crisis management. Deep personal trust earned through performance under fire, team loyalty from operators who respected competence over politics, specialized knowledge that couldn't be replicated quickly, industry reputation that belonged to me, not Caldwell strategic partners. Then I listed everything I needed to execute an extraction strategy. The first call I made was to Amanda Rodriguez, a lawyer I'd met during the biogenesis crisis 3 years earlier. She specialized in employment transitions and executive moves. "Amanda, this is Warren Pierce from Caldwell Strategic. I need to discuss something sensitive." "Sure, Warren, what's the situation?" I explained my circumstances, Austin's promotion, my tactical assessment of the firm's direction, my consideration of independent operations. "I need to know 3 things," I said. "What can I legally extract when I depart? What conversations can I have with clients before resignation? What do I need to document for protection?" She was quiet for a moment. "Warren, these are complex questions. Can you come in this week? I want to walk through this properly." "Affirmative, when works for you, Friday afternoon." And Warren, "Bring documentation, contract language, client agreements, anything that defines your relationships and responsibilities." The meeting lasted 2 hours. Amanda walked through employment law, non-compete clauses, client relationship ownership, and fiduciary responsibilities. "Your situation is actually stronger than most," she said finally. "Your clients have relationships with you personally. Your expertise is specialized. Your non-compete has limitations." "What kind of limitations?" "Geographic restrictions that don't cover all your markets. Time limitations that are shorter than industry standard, and most importantly, client relationship clauses that favor the individual professional over the firm." She slid a document across her desk. "This outlines your options. Read it carefully. Call me with questions." I left her office with a tactical plan forming in my head. The second thing I did was approach my core team. Not everyone, just the 4 operators I trusted completely. Sarah Mitchell, my deputy, who had run 3 congressional hearings independently. Carlos Rodriguez, our regulatory specialist who could navigate FDA procedures blindfolded. Mike Thompson, our crisis communications lead who had managed product recalls for Fortune 500 companies. And Jennifer Walsh, our operations coordinator who kept everything running when the pressure mounted. I started with Sarah, called her into my office on a Monday morning after Austin's promotion announcement had circulated through the firm. "Close the door," I said, rotating my pen 180 degrees. "I need to discuss something operational." She sat down, notepad ready. Sarah was always prepared for briefings. "I'm considering establishing an independent crisis management firm," I said. "If I move forward, I'd want you with me. No pressure, no immediate decisions required. Just wanted you to have intel for your own strategic planning." Her pen stopped moving. She looked up from her notepad. "Warren, are you serious?" "Completely serious. Austin's promotion clarifies the firm's direction. My assessment is that independent operations offer better opportunities for professionals like us." She was quiet for a moment, processing. "Then, when, timeline is flexible, probably 6 months for proper planning and execution." "Count me in," she said without hesitation. "I've been waiting for this conversation for 2 years. Carlos had a similar reaction when I briefed him Tuesday afternoon. "You're talking about taking on the entire pharmaceutical crisis management industry," he said. "Just us plus selective recruitment. Specialized expertise, not generalist consulting. The regulatory side is brutal. FDA relationships, congressional connections, compliance protocols. It takes years to build that infrastructure." "I've got 15 years of infrastructure," I said. "Question is whether you want to help me leverage it." He grinned. "When do we start?" Mike was more cautious. Wanted to understand the business model, client acquisition strategy, financial projections. We spent an hour walking through operational details before he committed. Jennifer surprised me. When I explained the situation, she started crying. "Warren, I thought you were going to tell me I was being let go," she said. "Austin's been asking a lot of questions about operational procedures, taking notes on everything I do. He's probably planning efficiency improvements," I said. "He asked me to document all your client contact protocols, said he wanted to optimize communication workflows. That was intel I hadn't expected." Austin was already moving to centralize control over my client relationships. "Jennifer, if I establish an independent firm, would you consider joining as operations manager?" "Are you kidding? I'll start tomorrow." The third thing I did was have dinner with Dr. Monica Fuller, CEO of Biogenesis Technologies. I'd been supporting their crisis management needs for 8 years, ever since that first FDA investigation. We had moved beyond vendor relationship into strategic partnership. When they faced regulatory challenges, she called me directly. I asked her to meet at Morton's downtown, the kind of place where pharmaceutical executives conducted serious business conversations. "Monica, I need to discuss a strategic development," I said over appetizers. "I'm departing Caldwell Strategic and establishing Pierce Crisis Communications. Independent firm, specialized focus on regulatory affairs and crisis management." She set down her wine glass. "Warren, what happened? Did something go wrong at Caldwell?" Nothing went wrong operationally. Strategic direction changed. New leadership prioritizes different capabilities. Austin Hayes, you know Austin? He called last week. Wanted to schedule a meeting to discuss optimizing our engagement model. I told my assistant to put him off. I rotated my pen 180 degrees. What's your assessment of working with Austin versus working with me directly? Honestly, Austin doesn't understand our business. He talks about digital strategies and social media integration. Warren, when we have an FDA investigation, I don't need social media integration. I need someone who understands regulatory law and congressional procedures. That's my assessment as well. She leaned forward. What are you proposing? Independent relationship. More focused service, specialized expertise, direct access to senior personnel, no account management layers. What's your timeline? 60 days for full operational setup. I'm interested. Send me a proposal, actually, I said, pulling a folder from my briefcase. I brought one. She read through it while we waited for entrees. 3 pages outlining service structure, personnel, pricing, and transition timeline. This looks comprehensive, she said finally, but I need to ask, are you sure about this? Starting over at 49 is a significant risk. Monica, what's the bigger risk? Staying with a firm that doesn't value regulatory expertise or partnering with someone who's built their entire reputation on delivering results in crisis situations? She smiled. When you put it that way, she signed the letter of intent before we finished dinner. 2 weeks later, I had a similar conversation with Dr. Patricia Summers, CEO of Meridian Biotech. We'd worked together for 6 years, managed 2 FDA investigations and a congressional hearing that could have destroyed their company. Patricia, I'm establishing an independent crisis management firm. Specialized focus, senior level attention, direct access to expertise. Warren, you saved our company twice. If you're going independent, we're following you. I haven't even explained the service model yet, don't need to. I trust your operational judgment more than any consultant we've ever worked with. The third client conversation was with Integrated Healthcare Solutions. Their regulatory chief, Mark Davidson, had specifically requested my involvement in 3 separate congressional hearings. Mark, I need to brief you on a strategic development. Let me guess, he said. You're leaving Caldwell because they promoted that kid Austin over you. News travels fast. Pharmaceutical crisis management is a small community, Warren. Everyone knows Austin Hayes couldn't handle a congressional subpoena if his MBA depended on it. So you'd be interested in an independent relationship. Send me the paperwork. We've been looking for an excuse to simplify our vendor relationships anyway. I incorporated Pierce Crisis Communications on a Thursday. Small office space in the financial district, 4 blocks from Caldwell Strategic. Walking distance for psychological impact? Friday, I signed the lease and hired Janet Morrison as operations manager, the same Janet Morrison who tried to recruit me months earlier. Warren, I can't believe you turned down our offer just to start competing with us, she said. Nothing personal, Janet, just better tactical positioning. I respect that. When do you want me to start Monday? We've got 6 weeks to build operational infrastructure before client transitions begin. Monday morning, I walked into an office with my name on the door, smaller than my previous space, but mine, conference room that held 8 people instead of 20, but every seat would be filled with specialists, not generalists. By end of week, Sarah, Carlos, Mike, and Jennifer had submitted their resignations to Caldwell Strategic. Tuesday morning, I executed the final phase of my extraction strategy. The 2 weeks of my notice period were tactically interesting. Howard called me in twice. First meeting, he stayed professional, kept his voice controlled. Warren, is there anything the firm can offer to change your tactical assessment? Compensation adjustment, equity participation, different reporting structure. I rotated my pen 180 degrees. Negative, Howard. My decision is final. You're making a mistake building a practice from scratch at 49 minus the risk is enormous. You've got a secure position here, established relationships, institutional support. The relationships aren't institutional, Howard. They're personal, and security based on someone else's assessment of my value isn't actually secure. He leaned back in his chair, studying me. This is about Austin, isn't it? This is about operational effectiveness versus political favoritism. Austin's a good kid, but he can't do what I do. When your clients face congressional hearings or FDA investigations, they're not going to want innovative digital strategies. They're going to want someone who's been in the trenches. Austin can learn. Your clients don't have time for his education. Second meeting, 10 days later, Howard abandoned professionalism completely. His face was red, voice raised for the first time in 15 years. What you're doing is disloyal, Warren. You're burning bridges. The crisis management industry is smaller than you think, and people will remember this operation. I kept my expression neutral. Howard, I've given you 15 years of loyal service. built your crisis management division from nothing, generated millions in revenue, trained junior staff, represented the firm with distinction in congressional hearings and federal investigations. Exactly. Which is why this betrayal is so disappointing. This isn't betrayal, this is business. You made a business decision to promote Austin over me. I'm making a business decision to take my expertise elsewhere. Those client relationships belong to this firm. Check the contracts. Client relationships belong to the individuals who built them. That's standard in professional services. He slammed his hand on the desk. You're destroying everything we built together. Howard, you destroyed it when you decided political comfort was more important than operational competence. I'm just accepting the reality of your decision. I thanked him for 15 years of training opportunities and excused myself. Austin stopped by my desk on my final day. He was carrying coffee and wearing an expression that was trying for neutral and failing slightly. Warren, I hope there are no hard feelings about the promotion, he said. I'm really looking forward to working with the crisis management team. Team won't be here much longer, I said, continuing to pack my tactical manuals into boxes. What do you mean? Sarah, Carlos, Mike, and Jennifer submitted their resignations this week. Effective dates coordinate with major client transitions. His coffee cup stopped halfway to his mouth. They're all leaving? Affirmative. Following me to Pierce Crisis Communications. Warren, you can't take the entire team. That's not fair. I looked up from my packing. Austin, fairness would have been promoting based on qualifications and experience. You wanted the responsibility, now you get to handle it. But the client relationships will transfer to professionals who actually understand regulatory affairs. Biogenesis, Meridian, and Integrated Healthcare have all signed with Pierce Crisis Communications. Official transition letters go to Howard today. Austin sat down hard in the chair across from my desk. Warren, this is going to destroy our crisis management division, not my tactical concern anymore. What am I supposed to tell the board? I rotated my pen 360 degrees and stood up. Tell them you've got fresh strategic vision and innovative thinking. Tell them about your digital transformation plans and modern client engagement strategies. Should be exactly what they want to hear. You're not giving me a chance. Austin, I gave you 15 years to learn this business. I briefed you on procedures, included you in client meetings, shared operational knowledge. You had your chance, but I need more time to transition. Your clients won't wait for your education. When their next crisis hits, and it will hit, they'll need someone who can handle congressional pressure and federal investigations immediately. Not someone who needs to figure it out as they go. I picked up my final box and headed for the door. Warren, please. Can we work something out? Some kind of consulting arrangement, transition period? I paused at the doorway. Austin, you wanted my job. Now you have it. Everything that comes with it. Monday morning after my notice period ended, I walked into Pierce Crisis Communications. Small office, my name on the door, but every person in that space was there by choice, not assignment. The first 3 months were challenging in the way honest operations are challenging. Every system had to be built from scratch, every vendor relationship established, every procedure tested under real conditions, but there were also moments when doubt would conduct reconnaissance on my position. Usually around 0200 hours when I was still at the office, building operational protocols or preparing congressional briefings. I'd let doubt assess the tactical situation, examine the risks, then get back to work. Dr. Fuller referred 2 peer companies within our first quarter. Dr. Summers connected us with 3 biotech firms facing regulatory challenges. Mark Davidson recommended us to the entire Pharmaceutical Crisis Management Association. Word moved through the industry the way intelligence always does, when someone with a solid reputation makes a strategic move. By end of first year, we had 14 clients and a team of 18 industry publications started covering our cases. One article called us the most significant new player in regulatory crisis management. The investment group approached us in December, minority partnership to fund expansion into the West Coast and Texas markets. The valuation they proposed was exactly the number I'd written on paper 11 months earlier as a 3-year objective. We'd reached it in year 1. That was 3 years ago. Pierce Crisis Communications now operates in 6 markets with a team of 45. We've handled 23 congressional hearings, 31 FDA investigations, and 8 product recalls that made national news. We're the firm that other crisis management companies call when they're in over their heads. Last month, we landed our biggest client yet, a Fortune 500 pharmaceutical company that had been working with Caldwell Strategic for 12 years. Their new regulatory chief called us directly after Austin Hayes mishandled their latest FDA investigation. We need professionals who understand federal procedures. She told me, not consultants who think social media can solve regulatory compliance issues. Every morning when I walk into my office, I remember the tactical lesson Howard Caldwell taught me without meaning to. Sometimes the best way to advance your position is to extract from an organization that doesn't value your capabilities and establish your own operational base. There's something I want to say to anyone who finds themselves where I was. Not the specific details of my situation, but the operational reality of it. The reality of having executed every mission assigned, having delivered every result requested, and watching someone who accomplished less walk through a door you built with your own expertise. The system isn't always fair, patient loyalty isn't always rewarded, but the capabilities you've developed belong to you. Your knowledge, your relationships, your reputation, those are your assets, not your employers, and no one can promote them away from you.
They say just forget. Move on like it's easy. But forgetting you feels like remembering someone I've never seen. I've been trying to erase you from the places in my mind, but the harder that I fight it, the more you're hard to leave behind. Every memory keeps slipping through the cracks I try to close, like a face I should remember, but somehow never know. Forgetting you feels impossible, like chasing something I can't hold, like trying to remember someone that I've never even known. I keep reaching through the silence for a past I can't undo, 'cause letting go of what we had feels like losing something true. Every moment turns to fragments, every thought just fades to blue, like I'm searching for a feeling that still only leads to you. Forgetting you feels impossible, like chasing something I can't hold, like trying to remember someone that I've never even known. I keep reaching through the silence for a past I can't undo, 'cause letting go of what we had feels like losing something true. But now every empty moment still reminds me what is real. Forgetting you feels impossible, like chasing something I can't hold, like trying to remember someone that I've never even known. I keep reaching through the silence for a past I can't undo, 'cause letting go of what we had feels like losing something true. Don't pity me. My heart doesn't need your mercy. I can still stand on my own. I was broken by your leaving, fell deeper than I thought I would, but pain has taught me how to heal now and survive what once I couldn't. You don't have to look back sadly, don't reach out with guilty hands. What you shattered made me stronger, now I rise where I once collapsed. My heart doesn't need your pity, not another empty sign. I've got enough strength left within me to rebuild this life of mine. My feet are steady through the sorrow, I can stand through all the pain. You don't have to save me, darling. I'll learn to breathe again. I once begged for your affection. Now I've learned my worth in scars. And the man you left in pieces found his own way through the dark. My heart doesn't need your pity, not another empty sign. I've got enough strength left within me to rebuild this life of mine. My feet are steady through the sorrow. I can stand through all the pain. You don't have to save me, darling. I'll learn to breathe again. So keep your sympathy behind you. I don't need what's left undone. Sometimes losing who once broke you is how healing has begun. My heart doesn't need your pity, not another empty sign. I've got enough strength left within me to rebuild this life of mine. My feet are steady through the sorrow. I can stand through all the pain. You don't have to save me, darling. I'll rise alone again. I'll rise alone